Hey everybody, Cameron Hemphill here, your host for Medical Millionaire. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune into the podcast. Our goal is to give incredible value and insight for practice owners. So if you own a medical aesthetics practice or an elective wellness clinic, every single one of these episodes that we create, they're 100% designed for you and to help take your practice to the next level. My team and I, we have consulted with some of the most well-recognized practice owners in the world. We have had key opinion leaders on this podcast. We have had the biggest names and brands on this podcast that I've interviewed with. I've personally been in the aesthetic space for over 10 years. And the reason why I say that is because it creates a tremendous amount of credibility. And we want to deliver something that's super compelling for you as we move this forward to give you something of value. This is a business forward podcast. You can go somewhere and get clinical data, but this is about business. We talk about mindset, we talk about finance, we talk about practice growth, we talk about marketing, marketing automation, finance, P&L, sales, like everything here on this particular podcast is to help you take your practice and run it like a successful business. And I don't care where you are, guys. If you're thinking about getting in the industry, if you just got in the industry, if you, Mary Beth Hagan would quote me there, if you just got into the specialty, which I really love that, by the way, or if you are growing your practice, right, you're in growth mode, or you're even looking to exit every once in a while, like we're starting to think about maybe it's time to go, maybe it's time to go. It's to help you along that journey. It's to help you get your tech stack aligned, your marketing aligned, your mindset aligned, everything in that aspect. And so that's what I hope to deliver. Guys, this is the 150th episode. I can't believe I've done 150 of these. I love doing it. And so I waited to produce this one because I want to do something different, something special. And this is super, super cool. We recently, over the past couple of months, took the time to interview well over 100 practice owners and providers, practice owners, people that are in the marketing arena inside of a practice. So everybody that we surveyed lives inside of a practice. Okay. And we asked them very detailed questions. And we wanted to understand more of the marketing aspects, right? Like, what are they using in terms of their marketing? What do they know about marketing? What do they know about brand identity? Are you running ads on Facebook, Instagram, Google? Where do most of your practice or patients come from, right? And it went like the questions were very detailed, and I was actually overwhelmed to get such a big response. And the team did such a wonderful job of collaborating and putting this together. I have to share it with you. The data is so interesting, and you need this going into 2025. Like this is like critical to have going into 2025 as we record this. The industry, has been very thirsty for data, and I've taken the time over the past few months to really analyze a tremendous amount of data. I have dissected AmSpa's report. I've dissected SkyTail's white paper. I've dissected Terry Ross's content. I've dissected Zenoti put out a white paper. Repeat MD recently published one. So what we did, guys, was we released our own benchmark report, and we released the 2025 State of the Aesthetic and Elective Wellness Marketing Report. And what I want you to do is make sure to make a note, mental note now, or write it down. Like, because I'm going to give you the highlights in this episode, but you're going to want to go get the full report. And the best place to do it, in fact, Growth 99 published the report, right? So just go to their website, growth99.com, and on the website there, you can just click download, right? It's like 4 or 5 pages, quick read, go through it. It's amazing. Okay, so that being said, let's jump in to some of the highlights and why this episode matters. So the aesthetic and elective wellness industry is booming. We all know that. But competition is fierce, and it's more fierce than it ever has been, right? In fact, 77% of MedSpa owners say standing out is harder than ever, right? Think about that, 77%. It's hard to stand out, right? We're all selling the same products, the same services. Like we have a website, we have social media, Instagram. I used to have TikTok. Maybe that's coming back, right? But we have to differentiate. You have to stand out. You cannot just think that you can be the same as your neighbor. You have to have a unique value proposition. right? That's a very high number, 77%. It's hard to stand out. It's because you're always all selling the same goods and services to the same customer profile, right? So what you're going to want is make sure to have a very robust value proposition and really focus on what you're good at and drill down on that marketing. That's going to help you tremendously. Marketing budgets are low. So 67% of med spas spend under 2,500 bucks a month on marketing. This stat was the biggest red flag for me. In fact, I was shocked. I was super shocked because your spend alignment should be anywhere from like 10 to 15% of top line revenue. So if you're bringing in $1 million a year, you should be spending $100,000 a year on marketing minimum. Minimum. It's like, let's just call it 10 grand a month, right? 9 grand a month, whatever, if you want to get super specific, but $9,000 to $10,000 a month. 67% of med spas spend under 2,500. What that shows, guys, is the industry, we're not aligning our marketing spend to revenue correctly. And I have had conversations with practice owners for years, and I think that, there's some fear around it. Hey, I tried Facebook ads, I tried Instagram ads, I tried Google ads, I built a website, I tried SEO, none of it worked. The fact is it all works. I mean, Facebook just reported their numbers. Meta, they just reported their numbers, a publicly traded company, you guys know that, and they're required to publish their numbers. Their numbers were off the charts. In fact, I think they blew expectations by like 25% in Q4 of 2024. That was just a highlight that I was reading on Yahoo Finance earlier. But it works, or else people wouldn't be spending money there. It works on Google. This stuff works, and you're either haven't done it correctly, or you're underfunding it, or you are just in fear of it. But it's very important to make sure you align that. I really want to see that number go down. And so if you're tuning in and you guys want to run this particular query, if you will, go figure out what your top line revenue is last year. Go figure out how much you spend in marketing, and if you're not up to 10%, you should be, because what you're doing is you're giving up patients. You're giving patients to somebody else. So that's why you got to stand out and have a value proposition, and make sure you're funding your marketing accurately. The other thing that was super interesting to me was retention. Like, retention is absolutely key. And retention can be all over the board, right? So MedSpa put out a number that says retention rates are right around 73%. That really, our data shows, yes, that's the case. But really for like the top providers, the top practices, the ones that actually have like a really strong patient base, great value proposition, spend money on marketing adequately, and have a good process, and ultimately deliver a great result. So SkyTel's paper put out there. Now they work with private equity, right? Those guys can help sell your practice. They say that private equity, if you're going to exit at some point, we all will exit at some point. If you do, that's one of the biggest KPIs and metrics they look at. They want you to be north of 70%. If you're 80 and above, like, you're off the charts. But some of the other, like the broader net of practices, the retention is extremely low. So take the time, go look at your retention rates, guys. Retention is going to be critical, because then you don't have to spend as much on paid advertising. You just need to make sure to keep your patients. If you keep 70% of them and you align your marketing spend ratios to top line revenue ratios, you're going to grow your practice, right? So I thought that was really interesting. I want to share that. AI automation, personalization will define in 2025 for success. And I'm going to jump into a couple of segments. Okay. So I've broken down 5 different segments for you in this episode. And again, I'll keep saying it throughout. Go get the full report. Go to growth99.com. It's on the website. Go download it. But let's get into one of the first segments. So the explosive growth of the aesthetic and elective wellness industry. Right? So the industry is obviously rapidly expanding. In fact, with an 18% increase in med spas, that's from 22 to 23. We'll have more of the data that kind of pulls out from 24. We're waiting on AmSpa's new data. But 18% increase in med spas from 22 to 23. That's a large number, right? And the reason you're like 18%, that's not large. Go actually run the numbers on how many practices that is, right? There's roughly 12,500 practices out there. And so go take, 18% of that, right? 10% of that is like 1,250. It's almost double that, right? You got like 2,300 practices. That's a lot. There's 50 states, right? So even the percentage number may not add up, like the actual net true number is a lot. More competition, harder differentiation. In fact, only 46% of med spas have updated their marketing strategies to keep up. Percent. So if you built your website and your Instagram page and your logo and like, you have no value proposition and you haven't changed strategies from when you open to being open for 2 years later, like it's time to really look at that. It's time to look at that. I mean, only 46% of med spas have updated their marketing strategies. 46. That's less than half. That's less than half, guys. This is a marketing game. Like marketing first, sales second, understanding your finance. Mindset's obviously one of them because you got to get, your ass into the actual practice and clinic and run this, right? And continue to show up as an entrepreneur and desire to win. But you have to get patients in the door and you have to consistently be looking at that. Social media drives demand. So this is another really cool talking point on this segment. Social media driving demand. 63% of women by the age of 18 through 24 say they would visit a med spa. So go look at your social media and go see who your demand is. So if you have a Instagram account and you haven't flipped it over to professional version, go do that because you're going to get data insights. And don't just do it to like, make yourself like from an ego standpoint, like, hey, I got the professional version and I'm a public figure, or I'm an entrepreneur. Go look at the data and then analyze the data over history. Okay. The reason why is you want to know who your ideal customer profile is, and then you can tailor your marketing to that. Right. So 18 to 24 said that they would visit a med spa. That's a pretty low age group. Right. So a couple discussions and questions that kind of come out. Like when I'm looking at these talking points, I'm like, okay, like let me ask myself some questions. And I obviously ask my team these questions too. But do you guys think the industry is oversaturated? And, when you actually look at the data, it's not. I mean, you have to differentiate, right? There's a struggle there because competition's real, but demand is on the rise. So it's definitely not oversaturated. In fact, some of the practices that are opening or have opened are going to close, and that's going to create more demand for people that have a good value proposition, fund their marketing correctly, understand their numbers, understand how to sell, are continuing to drive and overcome fears, challenges, every challenge that comes with running a business. That's who's going to outpace everybody that's going to eventually, ultimately, and unfortunately, close their doors. Okay. Um, how can MedSpa stand out? So signature treatments, memberships, strong branding. If you don't have memberships, you must roll it out. It's going to help with your patient retention. Signature treatments is a great way to have value proposition, right? You can even trademark those. I've interviewed a ton of practice owners that have trademarked signature treatments, and then you can market those, and that's a great way to differentiate yourself. Next one, like how are millennials and Gen Z shaping demand? Right? There's this whole new segment, millennials. I'm in that category. Gen Z is coming up rapidly behind us. It has to do with social media and influencer marketing. Like they're more powerful than ever, right? So make sure that you guys are obviously doubling down on your marketing avenues when it comes to social influencer marketing. Make sure you're well positioned in that aspect. Okay. So let's move on just for a second. I want to talk about segment number 2 and really get into uh, med spas and marketing spend alignment in more detail. I talked to you about 67% are spending less than $2,500, but that's very, very underfunded, extremely underfunded. And what I was analyzing was like, why is this happening if you can't continue to spend the same amount on marketing as your business grows, right? In the early days, let's say you're more bootstrapped and you have to spend a specific amount to get patients in the door. And as you continue to bring in patients, your business grows year one, year two, year three, you really need to make sure that you're keeping up with your revenue alignment, and making sure that you're increasing those marketing spend ratios. I see all the time, guys, that people are not doing this, and I just wanted to flag it one more time in this other segment in terms of spending through marketing. And look, most people are just not understanding the value of this because they're looking at it as a cost standpoint. You're looking at it through the wrong lens. This is an investment that's going to pay you a royalty back several times. And so you need to look at it differently. You need to look at it in the sense of saying, okay, if I'm going to spend 10% of my top line revenue, let's just say you do $1 million, and the top line revenue, I got to spend, hey, Cam says spend 10%, that'll be 100 grand a year. I'm doing $1 million a year. Okay, cool. That sounds like a lot, right? Well, if you don't do it, you're not capturing demand, but then you're not capturing the retention of the demand as well. So it actually creates a compound effect. It's a negative net result, is what happens. By not spending it, you're basically saying, hey, I mean, shoot, you're basically saying, I don't like money and I don't like patience. Now, some of you that are, obviously at capacity, like your utilization rate is 100%, 110%. Okay, I get it. Maybe it's time to open up another room. You have a great problem. Okay, you have a wonderful problem. But for those that are running at like 50% capacity or 50% utilization rates, or even like 60, 70, it's you're not spending enough. And you should be gobbling up every single one of those hours that are available and filling, because the patient demand is absolutely there. And what we're seeing, in the industry is typically every dollar you spend on marketing, you get a 3-to-1 return. So if you spend 100, or if you spend $10,000 a month, that's going to bring in, 30, $40,000 in top line revenue. And if you have great retention, you're just going to continue to grow and evolve and capture market demand. Average cost per lead. So average cost per lead can change based upon where you're at. And this is a KPI metric that I want you to really zero in on, whether you have in-house marketing or you have external marketing with agencies or whatever you're doing. Really start to understand your cost per lead. And this is generally around paid advertising. Pretty hard to get your CPL, your cost per lead, when it comes to SEO, right? So if you're just running SEO, again, I would obviously encourage you to run paid advertising because you're missing out in a major way. But the CPL that we're seeing across the board is right around $39 right now between Facebook, Google being higher, Facebook being lower. Average patient acquisition cost between this cohort of survey was $132. Many practices are marketing inefficiently. 42% of med spas fully outsource marketing, 42%, while 35% rely on part-time staff. That 35% that rely on part-time staff, that's one that is like a big call out red flag for me. Again, I've mentioned it several times, and I just want to drill it home that this is a marketing game. Okay. You have taken the time to invest in your craft. You have gone to school. Bless your hearts. You guys know clinical and anatomy like way better than most people. And it's extraordinary what you guys do and the accomplishments you have and the academic skills that you have. It's amazing, and it's so I'm thankful to have the opportunity to know so many of you, because you actually make people feel confident and give them beauty and make them feel young and do something like it's got to be just a great feeling. The more I think about it, just man, I want to be an injector at some point, maybe. Just kidding, but the fulfillment is amazing. But again, this is a marketing business and a sales business and a systems and process automation business. And so if you're kind of doing marketing and you're relying on your staff to do it, I would encourage you to look at having a fully maybe outsourced marketing agency that knows what they're doing. And and I only say that because when I say like you're relying on part-time staff, that means they're not fully invested, right? If you have in-house marketing, like you have a CMO, full-time content producer, those type of people that actually can communicate and have an outside agency, like that's the best formula. If you have that, you're doing great. But if you kind of have part-time people posting on Instagram here and there, there's no strategy, there's no conversation, you're not looking at data, you think that your front desk person can do SEO and run your paid ads, like this is like the biggest no-no I see. That 35% is just a big number. And so if you are looking to grow, which I pretty assume everybody that's tuning in is looking to grow, I would strongly encourage you to connect with an agency, a marketing automation company that knows what they're doing, been in the space for a while, and continue to look at that. So basically, like our med spas under investing in marketing, absolutely. Uh, like not just by a little bit, by a long shot, and they're very inefficient, right? So the ones that I actually see investing in marketing are the ones that are doing it right. They have systems and tools in place. They have wonderful CRM systems. They have wonderful automated follow-up systems. They have great EMR systems. They have great online booking connectivity systems. They have great patient retention systems. Those are the ones that, if you're going to invest in marketing at all and you're going to invest correctly, make sure to have the systems to automatically follow up with those leads and convert them into long-term patients. Number one, invest correctly. Number two, have systems in place to automate that. The other point too, what marketing strategies actually work? The ones that work: Google ads, search engine optimization, Facebook ads, Instagram ads. Those work extremely well. And also, organic content as well, right? So if you guys don't have an organic content strategy, make sure to allocate that and allocate time and have a strategy around that. Should practice owners outsource or go in-house? Outsourcing brings expertise, but in-house allows better brand control. Okay, so expertise is huge. So like a way that I could look at that one would be if you like, I would outsource your SEO. I would outsource like website, anything that's like let's call it critical in terms of mechanics, right? Something that is mechanical, hard to set up, challenging. Maybe you don't understand the algorithms, the acronyms, like just like as we would as we come to a practice. I would outsource that stuff. Anything that's technical, right? Somebody that's want to set up a campaign for you, implement a CRM system, implement an EHR. Like you want expertise there. Where I love in-house marketing is individuals that bring in the ability to capture on-demand content. That is critical. That is absolutely critical. Having the ability to film while you're doing a procedure, getting testimonials, interviewing your staff, showcasing your facility. I mean, you can create so much content if you think about it, and you can chop that up, you can push it out, you can build an entire content calendar, really capturing content for like a week. You could push that out and schedule it out for the entire year. And people want to see you, right? They want to see authenticity. They don't want to see, graphics that are boring on your social media. They don't want to see you post here and there. They want to see your voice, your expertise. Again, like think of your organic social as a way of your differentiation, right? You need to be different than others. You need to have authenticity, and you need to have the ability to express yourself that separates you and have a value proposition through those social channels, right? So think about that in terms of capturing that in-house. Okay. So segment number three, digital marketing trends. What's driving patient growth? Okay. So Google dominates paid ads, with 82% of MedSpa's ad budgets going to Google and 18% going to Facebook. Facebook, Meta, Instagram. Okay, those are the same. Meta owns Facebook, Instagram. 82% going to Google, 18% going to Facebook. Okay. Why do you think that is? I can tell you why it is, right? People want to go to Google, ask Google an answer, gives them the exact answer they want, like Medspa or me, right? Great keyword to bid on. If you're not bidding on that, I would highly suggest it. Bid on that, brings the patient in, they click on it, goes to the website, goes to the landing page, bring in the CRM system, kick off the automated process, boom, 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 connect, get a patient, come in, do what you do and where you shine, deliver the best service and best result ever, and they're going to come back. Okay. Google and Facebook, or sorry, Facebook and Instagram, also extremely important. I think that that number is way too low. That should be increased because, all the time when I'm talking to practice owners, like they tell me, most people come to me from Instagram, right? Organic social, which is huge. And I think if you have a really strong organic social and you're not doubling down on the paid side of the social, you're missing out big time. And so I'd like to see that number much higher, actually. And I was actually surprised to see Google's be so high, but it also makes sense in where you can just serve up Google Ads and people go to conduct a search query and you're found, and so your conversion rates are higher. But your CPLs are higher. Your cost per lead, your patient acquisition cost is going to be higher on Google, and your CPLs and patient acquisition costs can be lower on Facebook. But that's an interesting talking point and call out that we saw in the data. Content marketing and SEO are underutilized big time, big time. So 24% of med spas are struggling with content creation. Why is that? You guys have so much to talk about, so much to offer. I mean, go use products like Chat GTP. Chat GTP would give you a ton of ideas on how to craft content marketing, whether that's for white papers, SEO, blogs, or it's for creating video content or pushing content to Instagram, like, whatever channels, social channels you want. You need to make sure that you guys are not underutilizing that the power of these search engines. And so, when I see 24% of med spas struggle with that, it makes my head spin a little bit because there's so much we can be talking about that these patients, they don't know, right? Like, you continually educate when they come in to your practice around everything that's taken place, whether they're coming in for an injectable or a laser treatment or microneedling, PRF, weight loss, GLP-1s. Like, my goodness sakes, there is so much you guys could be doubling down on. And I would encourage that. I'd block out time and make sure to do that. Email automation and SMS automation, huge ROI. Yet only 18% of med spas are using it effectively. That's a low number. 18% are utilizing it effectively. We have our phones in our pockets all day. Unfortunately or fortunately, they're supercomputers. Like, I look at my email all the time. I look at my text messages all the time. If you have a database of patients, it's very, very important to connect with them. Send out a text, send out an email, let them know you're home, let them know you're there, right? Have an event, invite them to the event. There is holidays. Tell them about holiday specials, right? Don't just do it once a year on Black Friday. Do it all the time, right? Do it effectively. And then go look and see what's working and what's not working, what content works, what doesn't work, open rates, click-through rates, and then change your strategy based upon what's working, what's not working. Okay. So, some further, thoughts there on, digital marketing trends and what's driving patient growth is obviously, again, going back to marketing. Like, 82% of med spas budgets are on Google. Like, that's a high number. What's interesting is if you go back, you'll see, guys, that again, the majority of practices are spending $2,500. So, like, oh yeah, I run paid ads on Google. That's great. How much? Oh, $500. But your patient acquisition cost is $132. So if you're running $500 on Google and your CAC, customer acquisition cost, in this specific industry, I'd call it PAC, patient acquisition cost. If it's $132 and you're spending $500, like, wow, we're not getting much for $500, right? So again, that just goes to show that we are not aligning our marketing correctly with our top line revenue. And I have, like, case studies that I've actually taken the time to analyze and interviewed one particular CMO that runs a very well-known practice. In fact, she was actually on the podcast a few episodes ago. You should tune into that one if you haven't. Corey Morris, she was on it. But I took the time to really digest because they spend a decent amount. In fact, I think they're spending more like 14 to 15% of their top line revenue into their dollars or ad dollars, but they're getting a 9 to 1x return. So every dollar they put in, they're getting $9 back. I mean, that's like amazing. And they do a great job of the service and treatment. So like they are doing a wonderful job of investing in, and a lot of that's on Google. Like they're more than 18% on Facebook, but a big chunk of that is on Google. And their customer acquisition cost is pretty well aligned. Their conversion rates are aligned, and they continue to take market share. But one of the things that this all goes back to making sure that you align your spend with your marketing, your marketing spend with your top line revenue. Okay, that's like I just want to hammer that home as much as I possibly can for you guys. Okay. All right, moving on, guys. Let's get into. I have 3 more segments. So this is segment number 4: patient acquisition versus retention. Where's the real money? Okay, talk about some talking points here. 73% of MedSpa revenue comes from repeat patients, they say. Again, I think that data point is really around a cohort of individuals that are doing a really good job and delivering a result, and their patients are super pumped and they want to come back. These are the ones that are dominating top of the market. The repeats below that are substantially lower. But what's interesting is a ton of practice owners want to focus on patient acquisition, but they're underfunding the patient acquisition, and their repeats are south of 73%. Okay, which is wild. You want to be north of 73% or 70%. You want to be north of 10% on your spend on your marketing and north of 70% on your retention. Okay, so look at those 2 ratios. Repeat patients are much cheaper than new patients. A new patient costs money. Repeat patient costs money as well, but the cost of a new patient outpaces the cost of a repeat patient substantially. Okay, referral networks drive 42% of new business, but few med spas have structured a referral program. 42% of new business is from referral. Like, that's a huge number. That's amazing. That means that you're doing a great job of delivering a result. Like, people like your service and your expertise. But why wouldn't we have a structured referral program in place? Like, why not put that number to 65 to 70? Like, double down on what's working, right? That was the one that called out to me. Membership models absolutely work. 72% of MedSpa customers are in memberships, with a 66% referring discounted based plan. So 72% of MedSpa customers are in memberships, which is great. We are used to memberships. We are fine with those. We are used to paying our Netflix bill, our subscription fees. In fact, it's easier for individuals to forecast our expenses that way. We're okay with it. We're in a new digital reoccurring world that we can kind of forecast every single one of our subscriptions, right? So if you don't have a subscription model, I would highly encourage you to do that. It's going to help with your patient retention and ultimately lower your patient acquisition costs, because your retention rates are going to go up and you'll have to spend a little bit less on marketing, which is great. Segment number 5: tech and automation, the future of aesthetics and marketing. Let's talk about this for a sec. So only 18% of practices are using marketing automation. This is a massive red flag. 18% of practices are using marketing automation. It should be 100. It dramatically improves efficiency, dramatically improves conversion rates, and it frees up your time. It absolutely frees up your time. So, I would highly encourage marketing automation tools, CRM systems, EHR and EMR systems. Connect those together, create a very, very robust workflow. I was stunned out of this particular survey to see only 18% of practices use marketing automation, which there's so many affordable tools out there. 35% of med spas use a CRM. So 35% use a CRM, which I thought was interesting, is that just, it means most struggle with follow-up tracking. Follow-up tracking is absolutely critical. You can't just have a lead come in and call it once or text it once, right? It takes several touches. You need to make sure that you follow them on social media, drop them a DM, call them, drop them a voice note, send them a text message. If they don't answer, call them next week. I mean, stay in touch, put them on a drip campaign, put them on a text campaign, put them on a retargeting and remarketing campaign. Follow them around on social media. They see your paid posts. Super, super important. You can do that. And you can do all of this with effective tools. AI-driven personalization improves rebooking rates by 25% of practices are but. So AI-driven personalization improves rebooking rates, but 25% of practices are uncomfortable with automation. I get that. Um, I could see how you're afraid of bots or AI kind of going out there and automatically following, but you can generalize them, right? You can just make them, it's basically like the speed to lead formula. If somebody's going to inquire, you want to make sure you get back to them like immediately, or else they're going to go somewhere else. Okay, so you don't need to, don't worry about the automation being so clinical and about the results. It's really about getting back to them as fast as you can, and then opening up a more of a formal discussion over the phone or in a consultation. So therefore, you can put them on a robust treatment plan. Okay. Last segment, guys, is MedSpa profitability and business growth. So some talking points here. The average med spa earns $1.3 million per year, but 60% of practices make under 500K. Okay. So the average med spa earns 1.4 million, but 60% of practices make under 500K. Top performing practices are upselling memberships and exclusive treatments. That's the big one. So what separates top performing med spas from struggling ones? Strong branding, automation, memberships, marketing alignment, tech stack, everything that we're talking about. How can med spas increase their per patient spend? Upselling, skincare, treatment bundles, follow-up offers, treatment plans, treatment journeys. Okay. They come into you and they want, let's just call it Botox. They come and they want some sort of filler, right? Ask them the underlying question and get them on a patient journey. If they're on a journey, they're going to stay with you and trust you. Give them the result they deserve. Should med spas focus on a signature treatment? So be exclusive, attract high value patients. If you don't have a signature treatment, I would highly suggest rolling one out, because this is the big separation gap, right? In terms of like being elite, selling higher ticket items, being special, having a value proposition that resonates with your ICP, your ideal customer profile. Final takeaways and 2025 predictions, key insights for success for 2025. Marketing matters, guys. The best med spas invest in digital strategy and automation. Period. And period. 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 The ones that I've seen that have been successful, stayed successful, continue to capture market demand, market share, sell, exit, open up multiple locations, franchise, like marketing, 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 marketing. Okay. That's not me just saying it because I'm an expert in the space. That's what the data shows. And that's I'm just here to share that with the audience. Retention wins. Repeat patients drive the most revenue. Repeat patients drive the most revenue. Focus on memberships and loyalty. So spend the money to bring them in and make sure you have great retention. And then technology is key. Med spas that embrace AI and automation and CRM and online booking and virtual consultations and chatbots and two-way texting and EHRs, and know how to pull reports on that and understand their numbers and understand how to sell and produce a treatment plan, and run a very successful consultation. Those are the winners. Okay. Marketing matters, retention wins, tech is key, sales is key. Differentiate yourself, know who you are, have an area of expertise. Okay. So as I let you guys go here, you start asking yourself, what is your biggest marketing struggle? Do you use automated tools? Do you use CRM tools? If not, you should look into it. If you're struggling with marketing, it's time to invest with experts. Okay. And start to think about what the number one strategy you have that helped you elevate to where you are. right? What strategies have you used historically that have got you to where you are? What has worked? What hasn't worked? And double down on everything that has worked, right? Pour gas in the fire. Cool. All right, guys, I will leave it at that. I want to wrap this episode up. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune into Medical Millionaire. Again, my name is Cameron Hemphill, your host. If you guys found this episode valuable, please share it. I would love for you to share it with the industry. That would be my biggest ask. And again, if you want to go download and really dissect the 2025 State of the Aesthetic and Elective Wellness Marketing Report, please go to growth99.com. There is a lot more in that report than I was able to share with you today. That being said, until next time, happy injecting.